Welcome back to the Home Service Expert. Today I got an awesome guest, and I've been dying to get this guy on the podcast. As you guys know, I've done thousands of podcasts. I got Dave Yoho here. He's an expert in sales and business. He's just getting started in his career. He just turned 30. He's based out of Fairfax, Virginia. He's the president, CEO, and founder of Dave Yoho Associates, and he's done that for about 64 years. He's a pioneer in the home improvement industry. He founded his own business at the age of 28 and grew it to multi-state and actually an empire. 22 branches across 13 states, generating over $60 million in the early 70s. He later launched Dave Yoho Associates, which remains one of North America's most respected consulting firms in the home improvement and remodeling space. Starting his career in a division of Reynolds Aluminum, Dave quickly rose to executive leadership before launching his own firm. Since then, he's advised Fortune 500 companies and small businesses alike on sales, marketing, leadership, and operations. He's the best-selling author of How to Have a Good Year, Early Year, and Why. Buy replacement windows. If you're in the home improvement, sales, or management, you've likely been influenced by his work, whether you know it or not. Dave, it's a true honor to have you on the show today.
All right, and now I have to live up to that introduction. Thank you. Thank you. They're kind words. I'll pass it on to my grandchildren, who are largely more interested in the will, but this may impact them.
I love it. Well, Dave, let's just get started here. Most people know who you are, but do you want to just catch us up to your career, what you're passionate about, what you've been up to, and what gets you excited every day?
Okay, I can make it brief, though, because the average person is at a place in their life, and they had to work hard to get to that place. They want to go from that place to another place, or they want to go from where they are and make it more efficient for what they invest, not only in money, but in time and energy and life. So how do those things compare? I'm a veteran of World War II. I was 17 years old when the war ended. I came out of school. I went to night school to get my undergraduate degree. And when I did, I took the first job that was offered to me, and I worked for a company called Tylo. May not know, it was a public corporation, and they had 61 offices and 500 salespeople. And I started there as a salesperson and didn't like it, didn't understand it. And they dealt with a phenomena or two that I still utilize today, but didn't know it at the time, how powerful it was. And I'm from Philadelphia, moved to New York City area, had a great life up there. When I sold my business in 74, we already had an educational arm to the business. So I've been in every phase of the business. I've had the good fortune to work for Fortune 500 companies and startup companies. One of the startup companies that we work with today does $670 million. One of our affiliates and clients does over $1 billion. So what has happened, there's been a metamorphosis in the business from where I was to where it is today. But the commonality is, and this is for you and I and everybody listening, we deal with people, and it's people issues. So along the line, we develop concepts. I study human behavior. I have an undergraduate degree in business, but most of all, the experiential background in this business. What we've developed is a science of in-home sales, in whatever form you call it, whether you're giving proposals or you're giving estimates or you're trying to close a sale. The concept is we are dealing with human beings, and they are the focal points of everything we teach and everything we believe in, because it's the way the customer thinks and feels, not what we do. And if you're listening to the news to help you get through the day, you already know it's a mistake. It'll leave you but nothing but depressed. So all of our concepts are baked in long range belief that we had to know and understand the customer better than any of our competition. And when we did that, then we became a large company, turning millions of dollars. There's a time when I was doing 60 million, the average company who did $1 million thought they were in high cotton. End of speech.
I love it. No, you're right. I think that's the most important thing. But I think really getting the right people on board. I know you could teach a lot of people how to believe in themselves, leadership, passion. But how did you figure out early on who was going to be a winner and getting the right people on the bus?
Okay, that was a very costly thing. I worked for a large company who had big dollars for marketing and whatnot, and they attracted people. Why? Well, the population wasn't what it was today, and a lot of people didn't have work, and they got into this business largely because there was no other way to do it. But the truth is, in what you say, anyone can be taught to talk, to speak, to make what people often call a spiel or a presentation. But the concept of finding out how the customer thinks is largely best based on an individual's concept and his behavior. So we utilize the behavioral profile. I've been working in that area alone for 45 to 50 years to determine which fit the best. Now, if you're already in the business and you own the business and you've made a lot of progress, you may not like some of the things that go on when you have to acquire people and teach them to sell. Because salesmen are illogical. If you have salesmen working, it's illogical. We have clients who sell 15, 20, $30 million a year, and they'll have one salesman that does 3.5, 4 million. One guy, one gal. Now, what makes them different? Different kind of behavior and the different ways they apply behavior. And that's one of the keys today. And one of the greatest things that you build a company, you build something where you want your reputation to precede you and your reputation to be accepted so that the customer goes away feeling good, even if they don't buy. Hear me. Very important. Because of the internet today, if they don't buy, they can say whatever. Nice people, lovely people, but they're too expensive. Too expensive doesn't mean you're charging them too much. When they say too expensive, they don't see the value. And then that's an implant on us. So we have processes for all the things we do. We have a behavioral profile. And if you haven't seen one, I'd be happy to have them send you one. It's done electronically. And we can tell in 8 to 10 minutes what your behavioral profile is, what you will do now, what you will do under stress, and what things you don't like that you may still do that take you away from being the best you can be. Now, we are not on this earth to change people from what they were. But we do have to have something built into our system called adaptability, Tommy, because that's the key. You're going to get in front of people you don't like, habits you don't like, smells you don't like, language you don't like. And so selling in one of those areas, selling is not fun. Selling is enjoyable when you complete it and you get an order. But suppose you got a real great organization and you issue leads and 40% of those leads turned into sale. You're in high cotton, no matter what your competition tells you. Because the average company in the marketplace today sells less than 30%, sometimes less than 25%. So that means you have to go out and generate leads, shows, events, advertising, radio, television, online, all the idioms that go with the modern civilization. But you're still not going to sell the majority of those people. So we look to every individual to show them what their behavior is, how that behavior works to their benefit and to their detriment. So if you go back in time, I don't know how old you are, but if you go back in time, people used to say, hey, we hired a good guy, good gal, while they're a fast talker. That doesn't make you a good salesperson. If you balance it with good listening, then it might help you. But how do you become a good listener? It isn't easy. People have to be taught how to do it. But the first thing that has to be recognized, people have to recognize where they are. That's companies and that's individuals. And then they have to be motivated to work with and then measured by the metrics. And say the the metrics in the industry today. What did it cost us to procure a lead? And then we give the lead to a salesperson. And then the salesperson does what he or she wants to do because that makes them comfortable. Instead of doing what is in the best interest of the homeowner. And a lot of things come to place. I may give you some thoughts here where you want to answer some questions about it, but that's the key thing. Do you have the right person? And then can they be trained in the process? Which also says not only do you need the trainee, but the trainer. And if you don't have a high-type sales personality and you're hiring salespeople, you're not going to like some of the things they say and do. I don't mean bad things. I mean just dumb things. And the language we use in ordinary life is not the language of selling. Hopefully that induces a question.
It does. What is the difference between the language we use day to day versus the language of selling?
Well, it's so basic. You didn't take a course in selling to go into the business you were in. And the chances are you had to work pretty hard at developing technique. Because somebody will say, let me tell you what they do over at Harry Jones. Da, 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 da. Let me tell you what Charlie Niglick says in his book. Let me tell you what it said on the tape. There's a guy that sells cash registers, and here's what he does. And what you're really looking at, what do we do? Now look at simple language. A man or woman, whether it's a spouse or a significant, a man or woman go shopping. And they invest a half an hour in getting to the shopping center. That's another 10 minutes trying to find a place to park. Now they're in the shopping mall. And they find the store they want. And they finally get up to the floor the woman wants to see. And you're in woman's wear. And the woman, let's say it's your wife, bends over and looks at a garment. And as she's looking at it, the sales clerk comes over. Tell me what that salesperson says to her.
Can I help you with anything?
Okay. That's what 99% of them say. What do you think the answer is 85% of the time?
No, just looking.
Okay. Now, we didn't rehearse this, did we?
No.
But everybody who's listening and just going to shopping knows that. All wasted conversation. You didn't help her asking her a question, and she hasn't helped you with the answer. So you're an impasse. Now, just suppose in this one instance, this is what we taught Nordstrom's years ago. When that woman is looking at that garment, the sales clerk came over and said, instead of saying, may I help you, say, excuse me, is this something for yourself or is it a gift for somebody? And the woman will say, no, it's for me. What size are you? I'm a 5. These are petites. Now, is it something for you? Yes, all right. Let me show you where those are. Come on, I'll take you over there. Now she takes her over and says, here's the department. We have 3 lines here. Is this for a vacation or wear, or is it for business wear, or is it for everything? Tell me. And the woman tells her. And she says, okay, here's the number 5. If it's something, now consider, here are some items on sale. Let me take you there. Now, what that clerk has done is help that woman. Would you agree?
100%.
So why does she say, may I help you? Well, we work with Nordstrom's and we work with Walmart and we work with JC. We worked with all these people years and years ago. Made all kinds of presents. Worked with Bell Telephone when they broke up from AT&T to Bell. It is difficulty personified when you ask somebody to change what they do in their work life with their business life. So again, if you say to that woman, what are you looking for? And you define what she's looking, and you help her find a way to get it, you have solved the first level of building rapport. That person feels comfortable with you. But teaching people to do it is very complex. How do people answer the phone today? Listen, today we have AI, and God bless, I have some of my children involved in that AI industry. Love it. But I do tell you something. It doesn't reach the core of helping an individual. When that phone rings, the first voice should say, "Thank you for calling XYZ Company. How may I direct your call?" They don't say that. They give you a long litany, press 2 for this, 4 for this, play 6 for that, and you're not sure of that, you're back to number 3. And they give you a litany of options that only confuse you more. Now go back to the woman shopping. What we did with her is not new. I didn't invent the language. And it goes back to something called Socratic teachings, which means if we can say to someone that identifies with what they're thinking or feeling, we're in better shape. So how does it apply in our business when the phone is answered? You say, "Thank you for calling XYZ. What is the purpose of your call?" "Oh, so you're right, and I'd like an estimate." "No problem. Here, let me clear my line so I can give you all of my attention." Go off the line for 3 seconds, come right back. Said, "I've cleared my line. Now, how can we direct this? Let's start this way. Give me your first and last name." And then when they say the name, I write it down. Andrusky. Am I pronouncing it? Okay, Mrs. Andrusky or Mr. Andrusky. Now, just in case we get disconnected, start out by giving me the phone you're on. Are you on a cell or are you on a house line? They tell you, give me the number and put it down. Now, what was your purpose in calling us today? How can we directly help you? "Well, we saw your ad and we'd like to have a price on whatever it is you sell." "Is this for your home?" "Yes." "All right. And where are you located? In the suburbs?" "Okay. Now tell me, what do you want to know about the product? Are you having a problem with the products that you now have in your home? Or you just feel they should be replaced? Or you're just inquisitive?" "No problem. Now suppose they say, well, we have windows and they all work pretty well. 1 or 2 don't work well." "Why is that?" "Well, it's just tough to open. The one in our daughter's room is apparently the worst kind." "And how long has it been difficult to open?" Last couple of years." "Last couple of years? Why are you calling us now? Well, how come you didn't call us before?" "Well, we weren't ready. We were thinking of moving." "Well, you called at the right time. What you really need is somebody to show you what the conditions are and how they can be reworked or repaired if possible. But let me ask you this. How long have you owned your home?" Now, what I've done is all prepping to ask them the sweat questions. And I will tell you, I can teach people. We set up scripts, we train them, and they'll say, "Well, that's being pretty nosy. You know, if you just openly ask them that." But you didn't do that first. You showed them how you were benefiting them. And then they get to making an appointment, and the appointments are made incorrectly because they'll tell you today, "We can't get both people at home." You're asking for it the wrong way. And if you say, "Well, the woman has to be there with the man," that's insulting. I find that whole thing insulting. She doesn't have to be with the man. Give her a reason that she should be there with the man.
And what
And
is
then
that?
if you simply said, "This is the way it's done," we take a look at what you want to have done and what you need to have done. We will make an examination of your windows, kitchen, garage doors, whatever it might be. And we will take a look at these things again as to what you want to have done and what you need to have done. And if we can fulfill your want and your need, we will be able to give you an actual proposal on what your investment might be. Now, let me ask you something, Tommy. Is any of that language confusing?
No.
Hard to teach people to say just that. "Well, I don't know. I wouldn't, we don't do that. We're not high pressure." What is high pressure? High pressure usually evades truth and adds sequences that benefit only the guy saying it. You had to have whatever that might be. So we have to change the language, and that's why processing requires presentation. Hey, I feel like I'm running a seminar, and I apologize.
No, I love
mean,
it. You know,
So,
it's funny, Dave. I sorry to cut you off. I asked my mom to move out to Arizona from Michigan in 2010 because I needed help with the business. And she said, you know, honey, let me think about it. I've lived in Michigan my whole life. You're asking a lot. 1 week later, she said, we're going to move to Arizona, me and your stepdad, Bill. And my mom got on the phones and she said, thank you for calling A1 Garage Door Service. My name is Gina. How may I make your day better today? And she'd sit there and I watched her book the phone call. She'd say, oh my gosh, honey. Oh, Mr. Dave Yoho, listen, I am so sorry to hear that. Let me tell you something about our company. And then, you know, back then I was a technician and she'd say, listen, I've got this young man and he is the best at what he does. She's like, he is from Michigan. He's the best guy. You're going to love him. When he walks up, he'll have a big white smile. You're gonna, big brown eyes. He's the handsome little devil you'll see, but she never said she was my mom. And she'd tell stories and she was on the phone for 10, 12 minutes. And I liked my calls booked in 6. And then I'd be like, Mom, book the phone call. And I always laughed. But what I didn't realize at the time is every time she booked the phone call, people would give me a hug when I'd show up. And they'd have lunch waiting for me. And they'd say, Tommy, whoever that lady is, we're going to do business with you. Whatever the garage door needs, go ahead and take care of it. We trust you. And what I learned was my mom really cared. And that's a hard quality to find. You got to find people that really care. And I'm like, if we could book the call like my mom booked every time, it's not just booking the call, but it's setting it up for success and talking about who's going out there. And this is the best dad you're ever going to meet. He's such a good husband. He's such a loyal guy. He knows garage doors like the back of his hand. And that's something we've worked really hard to do. I mean, right now I have 70 people in my call center. And it's so much better than saying, hello, this is A1 Garage Door Service. How can I help you? You know what I mean?
yeah. All right. Now, but you've also described a unique kind of behavior, because in the behavior of the people in your call center who are taking incoming call, how many have your mother's personality? I'm not gilding the lily.
Yeah,
It
no,
sounds
you're
like
right.
the way you describe her, that she's never met a stranger. She can get gaga over the simplest of things and gets elaborate in her. She didn't tell him about the time you didn't change your socks for 2 weeks, or that you wouldn't eat the vegetables unless you were deprived of plate. She didn't tell you about that. She stays on things which are upbeat. Now, how do we teach ordinary people to do this? Here's my answer: by script. Give me. Are you married, Tommy?
I'm engaged. I'm 42, never been married. I've been married to my work, but I'm very.
Okay. Well, then I'll use it. But I was going to ask you, how old are your children? I'm going to ask you, how old were you when you could say your ABCs?
I had to be, 4 years old.
Okay. Did you know how to compose a sentence? Did you know how to spell when you learned your ABCs?
No.
But it's almost compulsory that you learn the alphabet before you learn to put words together. And you got to learn that alphabet by something called a mnemonic. That's a peculiar word. It's spelled with an M-N-E-M-O-N-I-C. Mnemonic is a series of words put into a fashion that are, it's like a little poem that you can read. So the child learns the ABCs, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. That's called a mnemonic. We add to it a little bit of rhythm. That's called an iambic pentameter. You don't have to remember either of those words, but that's what it's based on. And every child can do it because the parent taught them how to do it using a mnemonic. Now go back to adults. They have to be taught to say things that are scripted, and suddenly they don't sound scripted. When you say to somebody that answers the phone, thank you for calling A1 Doors. Thank you for, they have to be saying it that way. So they have to be schooled. Now, we went to work with Bell Telephone when AT&T broke them up into 13. And we took all the executives on a retreat. We had like 180 of them. We took them to a retreat. Now, these were the executives. And I got them to read sentences until they were saying, wait. We're not a bunch of kids. And we're not a bunch of salespeople. What are you trying to teach us? I'm not teaching you anything. I'm going to show you what works in the greatest businesses and how it can benefit you. But if you don't believe it, you'll never teach anybody. It won't happen that way. So people get trapped. Now you're still a relatively young guy. And so when you were in the early stages of developing your business, you were the kid. You were the kid without experience. You said you were an installer. Am I correct?
Yeah, tech and installer, correct.
Okay. So how did you learn how to sell? How did you learn how to market? Costly steps along the line, making a lot of mistakes, saying the wrong things. So people often think that a progressive preparation of a script is wrong. Well, here's what I will tell you. When the right people say the right things at the right times, the outcome is more beneficial. However, now I'm telling you what I learned in the behavioral sciences. It takes a minimum of about 21 days to change the simplest of problems. And when I work with the executives, here's what I get them to do, Tommy. Put your hands together as if you were in prayer. Put them together. Okay. Now you got them together. Look like this. See how my hands are? Okay. Which thumb is on top?
My right thumb.
Okay. Are you right-handed?
Yes.
Okay, it's got nothing to do with you're right or left-handed. But here's what I will tell you. Close your eyes, then open your hands and try to put them back all opposite. Close your eyes, open your hands. Is it comfortable?
No.
Okay. So any change is uncomfortable and people resist it. So what often happens, you will get somebody in there who is a skilled, whatever. Technicians, the same way. Technicians, it's difficult for them to understand that it's a people issue. It's the door, the equipment, the latches, the alarms, or whatever that is. That's really incidental. How it benefits them and why you're doing what you're doing and the way you're doing it. And then if they don't know, and we come into organizations and we send out about an 18-question survey to the guy's salespeople. And it's all confidential. They send them back to us. And we say things like this. What are the three most common reasons you receive from people as to why they are not going to buy from you? I asked for three most common reasons. Would you guess, Tommy, having never met me before, what those three common reasons are?
Oh, yeah.
What?
I need to talk to my wife or husband if it's a one-legged stool. So that's the biggest one. The second one is we need to get 3 estimates because we're smart shoppers. And probably the third one is we just need some time to think about it.
Okay, so now you've said the 3 things, a couple of which you can correct. There's a way to get more two-party appointments, two-party leads, but it's scripted. And it has to be that the person listening to you on the phone sees it as beneficial to be there. Then they'll want to be there. And if you go to the issue we want to get other prices, when they say, how many prices are you going to get? How many prices do they usually say?
We usually get a few different prices.
Okay. And where did they get that language from?
I don't know why the magic number is 3, but I feel like 3 people.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Better Business Bureau tells you to get at least 3. Now, God bless them. We did a lot of work in the area of consumer protection. Why not 5? Why not 4? Why 3? Somebody had to pick a number, and they'll tell you 3. It's one thing I will tell you. If you get 3 prices, one will be higher, one will be lower. Hopefully you're in the middle and not the lowest because that'll bother you. But that's not the key to why you should get that. And what is it about what you're putting in that house that these people are going to invest in What is it that you're doing there that is beneficial? And the answer is something that is important to them. Now, what is the average installation in your business, Tommy? What is it? What's the cost of it? Average.
The average door sale is $6,500.
A door.
One garage door, $6,500 is our average.
So, what is the average today? Most people have 2 or 3 garages.
A lot of homes have 2, so if you're replacing both of them, you're at like $12,000.
Yeah, right. Now, if this guy bought this house 17 years ago for $87,000, he said, "What the hell? That's 25% I paid for the house." And if he bought it for 23, now how do we deal with that? Because there's a segment where we teach people to, it's called walk around or examination. And one of the things we determine there, when they bought the house, what the houses are worth today. So in Socratic reasoning, if you can get those answers, you're way ahead. But Socratic reasoning said, wait. People don't want to hear that. They don't hear what? So if I say to a guy, so what did you pay for this house? $87,000? Seems almost unbelievable. How long ago was that? 20 years ago. Whoa. So what is this house worth today? Oh, $350,000. No kidding. So you paid 87, it's worth 350. Whoa. You're looking at $260,000 equity in your property. And you know that that's untaxable. If you sell your house and you make $200,000, you don't have to pay any taxes on the increase in value. In fact, it's $250,000 for you, sir, and $250,000 for me. So see what you're doing. You're getting to a core as to why they have an asset. They have a hidden asset that they can utilize to get these doors. No expense at all. So, but it's only by talking to the people and asking pertinent questions and getting the response. And that's sometimes, Tommy, difficult. It takes a period of time to do those things. And remember about the thing with your hands. The minute you tell somebody, here my hand with the right thumb dominant, the minute you tell him something he's not used to doing, he'd back the left hand. Look at all the stuff he learned in his life. About the Easter Bunny, remember that one? Remember about Santa Claus? How about this one? Do not go into the water until an hour after you've eaten, or you will get a cramp and die.
Yeah.
Remember all those things?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. None of them are true. It doesn't work that way. Don't go into the water right after you've eaten because you're using most of the internal organs in your body and the chemicals in your body to digest your food. So you're weakened at that point, but you're not going to get a cramp. You're not going to get a cramp and die. And so those are little segments that they use. And if you tell your people in your call center, what do you say to the people, I want a price over the phone? Well, no. What do you say to them? I want a price over the phone. And suppose you say, that's fine. I'm writing it down now. Now, why did you select that? Well, because all doors are the same. What else? Most companies that do what you do are in the same price range. What else? And they'll tell you. And they'll tell you all the reasons they believe that story. And here's what I say to them. Your house, 17 years after you bought it, is a different house. And your neighborhood, the same thing. The people have different likes. If you build a house and you were sharing a common look or a common development, all that's changed. And you've changed. And you have habits and appetites. And my role here is to find out what your needs are the way you see them. Now, when we do the surveys of these salespeople again, and we get to the very last question when we say, what could your company do for us to make your sales job better? We're asking the salesperson that. And remember, it's confidential. Company is not going to hear who sent it in. The question is, what could the company do to make your job more beneficial? 90% of the time, they'll say better leads and lower prices. Is anything that I'm saying to you today a strange language that you've never heard before?
No.
Okay, so that's the truth. But that is time immemorial. And that's true. Not only people sell what you sell. You know, we have a client who sells pergolas, and the average pergola today is $50 to $60, $70,000. So in that price range, everybody's going to say, "Well, we could get it for less or whatever." So those are the things you prepare yourself for. And when a presentation is made, it should be made with the intent of dissolving some of those obstructions. And the problem is, most people resist that. They don't want to hear that. They have a value system that. But look, today, many people. This is nuts to say this to you, but you probably already know this. Have a two-car garage home, and park on the driveway or on the street. Am I right?
You're right.
That's stupid. You got this garage, you got two cars worth $40,000 to $60,000 each, and you park them outside. What the hell do you have in your garage? The broken lawnmower, you don't even use it anymore. Cans of paint that came from the last time you painted, right? A broken step ladder. Whatever you do, people have a converted sense of values. We don't go in that house expecting to change those values. But if people do not have a sense of what is going on and why it's going on, then it's sad. And you can't change the world, but take it from me, we can get people to modify their behavior and be stronger.
So when it comes to, I've done predictive index, color code, Brigham Myers. I've done disc assessments. And yeah, they're pretty spot on most of the time, but I just find it hard to tailor everything for different personalities. I try to find the right personality for that role. And if you don't look somebody in the eye and smile, tell a great story, or you stutter all over the place, I don't know if sales is really your thing. I like to find people that are confident. They shake my hand. They tell a funny. My test is, would I go have a beer with this person? And would I enjoy their company? Now, if I got to take somebody and train them forever to seem excited and make eye contact and present and have passion, then maybe I didn't recruit the right person, because I can't make every average Joe into somebody. I don't say I need you to be great at sales. I need you to be a great human being that believes. Just like if I went to a doctor, Dave, if I went to a doctor and they said, well, they didn't make eye contact. They're like, well, well, I think maybe we'll try this prescription. I'm not really sure. And they didn't look at me. I want to go to a doctor that says, Dave, how much are you working out? Are you smoking cigarettes? What's your diet like? How do you feel? Do you have anxiety, stress? What's new with the family? Dave, I'm going to run a few tests for you. We're going to make sure to fix you up. Now, what's closer, Walgreens or CVS? I'm going to go ahead and prescribe you. Here you go. You're going to feel better. Call me if you have any problems. And that's a quick scenario. But if you can't do that, the doctor is the doctor, and they're confident. And somebody that's not confident in themselves, I find it hard to train. And maybe you're telling me it doesn't matter who you are, as I could train anybody. But how long does it take to train them? If I learned my ABCs when I was 3, I know people that took till they're 5 or 6.
Okay, well, let me respond to you. You are you. Nobody can come in and tell you you have to change the way you feel. But what you do have to do is take a profile and see what your strengths are and what things that you have in your behavior that you might want to see improve. Now, here again, I'm going to send you one. You've done Myers-Briggs, you've done DISC before, but you're going to see a very unusual DISC. We use 3 graphs. We have algorithms. We'll tell you if this person is easy to train or complicated to train. But it tells you a lot about yourself. And here's an example. What does the D stand for? Do you remember? You've done this
Dominant.
before. What is it?
Dominant.
All right. You have a high D. I can tell already. And so when you have a high D and you're following I, which stands for
It's been a while, but I'm a high DI.
But you are a high D, and you remember the high D. The I you won't remember that easily. But if you have a D in the sixth quadrant all the way up here, and an I in the fifth quadrant, the D dominates the I. But we don't have to teach you hard close. You will exemplify some of that in the way you close. Now, how will you train other people? You just told me you want them to be a guy that you could drink a beer with. And just suppose I were to tell you that we have in all the organizations that we work with, people who don't fit that mold. They don't break any rules. They have a behavior that can be molded. And that's what our dish tells them. We have an algorithm that decides this in about 9 minutes. I'll send it to you electronically. It'll take you about 9 minutes to do it. But we have a tutorial that is 72 pages long. And you can go to that tutorial and find your strengths and your weakness and the things you have to work on. And incidentally, you're a self-made man. Anything about that is new to you? Anybody ever told you that before?
No, I started from washing dishes.
Okay, so you're a self-made man, and you don't want to give any of that up, because being a self-made man, no matter what the obstruction was, you found a way to go through it or go around it or go over it. You did that. You didn't have enough money to start a business. You didn't let that stop you. That's because you're a high D. But the guy you also want is a guy who can identify with and as you have a profile, so does every customer you have a profile. And so much of what we teach is based on a lot of things. There's a whole study in our book, our work called proxemics. And proxemics have to deal with how far are you, what's the distance between you and I as we talk. So what really happens, women can talk face to face, touch each other's hair and whatnot. Guys don't do that. Guys need about 18 inches or more in distance. It's just the way it works. They may give you a great handshake, but you don't become convivial. Now, we're not teaching people to become convivial. We're teaching people how to react to conviviality, how to work. Listen, I know you've been in a house where the people thought you were wonderful, great sense of humor, whatever your mother said about you was true, but they didn't buy from you. And now you sometimes wonder if the person who said they were going to buy and didn't buy, or the person who you sold and then later on they rescinded, or they were such nice people, but they gave your installer all kinds of heat, because you're dealing with human nature. And that's what we're, like, have you ever watched the commercial on Leaf Guard?
Oh, yeah, every day.
Okay, so that's one of our clients. And we also have a management group, big management group, and he's one of the management group. They do $1.2 billion annually. Average ticket is over 10 grand. And they're able to do that. And if you look at that, every aspect of the business has to deal with some process. There's got to be some processing. And we don't ask people to change what they are. We ask them to recognize the process and what works the best, and then to try it. And something as simple as changing the way a phone is answered, or the way a lead is set up, the phrases to put in there, because whatever the phrase was that the marketing person set up, whatever that phrase was, now on the back end of that is the customer, and she set that up. And now they give you, and it's inanimate. It's on a piece of paper, a name, an address. And you get a guy has to drive 20 minutes for a lead. A lot different than if he has to drive an hour and 15 minutes for a lead. And so what has to happen, he will prejudge that. And if he has the right to call the lead, he may call the lead and say, they weren't really interested, and they told me that we could just shoot them an estimate. He didn't want to go that way.
Right.
He didn't want to drive that. Why not? He's a human being. Why should he? Because that's what it is. And did you ever hear our series, Super Sales Training?
I've heard of it. Yeah. You guys have some of the best training out there.
Yeah. And one thing I tell people in the early eye opening in Super Sales Training, and it's the best for small businesses. Why? Because you can give it to people, and you can give it to, if you have 12 salespeople, you can give it to all 12 of them over the weekend. They got to listen to it when you come in. There's a test on this. And I wasn't busy. I want to watch a football game. No. You have to give this, how many, 7, 8, 9 minutes, and I'm going to answer questions about it. Because what we look for is synchrony. And synchrony comes from understanding the customer. So I often leave a sales meeting with this. How many of you like to sell? What percentage of? Now, you've been at, we did the first meetings ever for the door closure business. First, there was an Italian guy who founded the organization, and when it was brand new, we did the meetings for them. And they'll say, like you would say, I don't know, I get along pretty well. I got a personality, and I don't need all that stuff. But the truth is, selling is not fun. Selling is serious business. You make it fun, but it's serious business. So in the opening thing about selling, I unhinged them, right? Anybody who watched it right away said, this is going to be a good guy. Why? I said, how many of you like to sell? Now, they're at home on their sets, in the office, wherever it is. And they'll say, I like to sell. So I'll say to them, well, how many of you ever got a lead and when you get to the house, no one's there? Fun? How many of you ever got a lead and you get to the house and only one party is there? Fun? How many get to the house and the one party is nice and the other party is a pain in the ankle? Fun? How many get to the house and you know you're going to get an order and the people say, well, let you know, we'll think about it, we'll get back to you, and you can't even get them back on the phone? How many have been out on a call here in the good old Phoenix area where the temperature's been over 90 degrees? Or how many of you ever worked in an environment where you went out on a call where the temperature was under 20 degrees? Now, is any of that fun? No. That's not fun. Getting the order's fun. And so the more times you get an order, then you're elated. But you have to go through all the process. Nobody sells 100%. Nobody sells 80% or 60%. That's not the way it works. And you'll go to conventions and you'll hear some guy, well, we got that little science today. We do most of it through AI, do it over the phone. Here's my answer, God bless. Because it's still a people business. And what you charge for 2 garage doors is not a fleet. It's not $10.87 or $104. This is real money we're talking about. So if that person cannot be convinced of value, you're going to have a tough time closing them. So I repeat again, I'm going to send you one of the profiles.
I'm all in on it. Well, I'll just have you know, Dave.
Well, it only takes you about 8 or 9 minutes to do it, and read about yourself and see how accurate it is.
You know, Dave, when I was in the service side of it, now I didn't close every door sale, but I closed every single service call except for one, 8 years running jobs. And I can tell you the way I did it was I treated them like family. And I said, listen, are you moving next week? You staying in the home? And I always gave them options because I felt like if I'm not giving you options, I'm giving you ultimatums. If you said, Dave, that's not what I wanted to do right now. That's more than I wanted to spend. All right, Dave, no problem. I completely understand and I agree. it's a lot more than I'd like to spend. It's an investment, but let's just pick another option. And I'd go wait in my van. I'd say, call around. You tell me if it's an honest company with good reviews that is BBB accredited and they've been around for a while. I'll figure out a way to earn your business. I'm here. And I just wouldn't take no for an answer, but I treat them like gold. And I didn't have to try because I genuinely love people. And I've had some people say, I'm not even going to talk to you. You're a technician. Just go do the work. And okay, sure enough. No problem, sir. And that's the way I was. And I always bring coffee on the way. I always knock the door. I never ring the doorbell because strangers ring the doorbell. I always play with the dog. And I always get to know the people. And I'm not saying I'm the best, but I never left without getting the HOA president's number. I never left without getting both neighbors' names. I never left without asking for 3 reviews. And I know I'm the founder, and I can't expect people to do what I did, but it's not a hard thing to do if you care.
Okay. And now you said 2 things. You don't try to teach them what you do, and yet many of the things you say and do are ultimates. They do really work the best. But that doesn't mean you can convince everyone to do it that way. You can't teach everyone to be you.
Right.
What you can teach them is how does it work? Yeah. And remember what I just said to you about how selling isn't fun. And most people don't like to sell. No. But most people who sell like to get the order. Now, there's a difference. And so every concept that we put into our training with a company, we tell the company in advance, our job is to enable your salespeople to sell more business with the same leads and in the same amount of time. And the moment they do that, that's gratification. But the salesmen are really quintessential. We have a client in New England who sells siding. Now, in New England, they make a lot of houses. They're joint houses. They're called duplexes. Common roof. There's a wall down the center, one house here, one house there. You do those houses, they're 3 stories high. You're looking at $75,000, $80,000 job. Now they're working on a commission basis of, let's say, 8%. And they sell that. And when they come back, they're so elated that they don't sell anything for the next 2 weeks. Why? Because there's a mental conditioning about being satisfied. So that's not wrong, but you have to have a compensation system and a control system that doesn't let that happen to them. You really have to be like a sheep herder that does what makes the sheep perform the way you'd like them to proceed. And that's why we bring out these studies and why we bring out the thing that we do, and people go even see this online. It's called super sales training. Everybody doesn't have to do every part of it. But if they go online to www.supersalestraining.com, and what it does is start out very gently with them and explaining that there are combinations that go into everyone's success. Changing people is complicated. Adapting is a lot less complicated. What else do you want to ask me, Sir Thomas?
I want to do a quick speed round. Number 1, you are dressed up to the 9. Probably something, it's very hot. It's 120 degrees outside. I wear a nice collared shirt every day, but I've got shorts on. When did you start dressing like that?
Well, and I dress this way on special occasions. I dress this way when I go to church. I dress this way when my children's weddings, my grandchildren are born and whatnot. And I dress them to show appreciation for the people who are giving up time to listen to me. Anybody who listens to this has to invest about an hour to listen to it. So I'm saying in appreciation, I like clothing and I spend a lot of money on my clothing, but I put my clothing on to be in appreciation. Now, when it comes to selling in the home, you also don't want to look like there's a caste system. So it's a lot different. But in these occasions, that's the way I dress. And thank you for noticing.
I love it. And, I know you've been doing this a long time. I see a lot of people. My dad's 72. He still works on cars. He owned a bunch of transmission shops, but he shoots pool and golfs a lot. He doesn't really go to the office. What is it about what you do? Obviously, you're very passionate. Uh, is there ever a time where you're just going to say, not going to the office anymore, or this is just part of your DNA? This is
Well, my son, the one here, is his name is Brad. He's the COO and he runs his business. Now, I'm the president of the company, but I do this. He set this up. You never met me. He sets all this up, and he has a model for running this business. And everybody around in this business dresses in very casual clothing. And in truth, I don't always wear a tie to come in, but there is something about the aging process. And it's the aging process causes you to go in decline when you aren't doing the things that will make your memory better or make you think better. What did you read? What did you study? So I buy all the studies, I read all these studies so that I am capable of interpreting at the client's base. Anybody that I work with, I call a client at their base. Now, I work for people who have, I got work, a guy who has 150 offices. I never get to go in all those offices, but I get to address those people almost once a month in something like this and answer their questions. And I dress like this for that purpose. And he says much the same thing. Why are you doing this? What are you trying to make me look bad? He says, you're trying to make me look, no. I want to show the people in your organization that I am prepared for them. And so I have a wide vocabulary, I have a wide study. I have an undergraduate degree in business. I have graduate studies in behavioral psychology. I'm a veteran of World War II. I'm a Congressional Gold Medal winner. None of that is important except how I determine to use it. And I intend to use that and think like he says, because I remember being a salesperson and I wasn't always treated kindly in the open stages. I don't mean treated badly, but much what you said. I'm a new guy and a new kid on the block. And why should I get a lead when they didn't get a lead yesterday, whatever that might be? So I don't want to bow to anybody. I want to appeal in my words to what they're thinking and saying. Now, do you have other people on the call today, or do this you edit?
This will be edited and going out, but it's the number one podcast in home service. Very proud of the listeners. And
how many people will be on the line?
There'll be 50,000 people the first month that listen to it.
Okay, so you're going to get a percentage of this. It'll tell you right away. Oh, that guy's high pressure. I don't know that. And we have people who say that. But I do believe also that our job is to sell ideas to people. And if we continue to sell ideas to people, they get it. They get that you have hired them to be your messenger with the way you run a company and the energy that you put into it and the image that you want society to have on you, that you're worth more money. You're worth spending an hour and a half to 2 hours listening about the garage and the opener and the stuff. Now listen, would you believe this? You have competitors that don't have workers' compensation.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Would you believe that you have workers who don't know anything about rescission?
Right.
And what happens, we want to do things right. The other guy doesn't, but we want to call it to the attention of the people. And so these are the things that we start with when we start to tell them. We don't tell them outright. We ask them some questions. Like if you say to somebody, so when's the last time you had some home improvement or home service project completed on your home? And they tell you. And you say, so why did you have it done? Well, we need to have it done. We had to have our bathroom changed. Okay. How'd that work out? Well, eventually it did, but it took a lot of time, and then he couldn't get some of the parts, and then He had an accident and one of his trucks broke down, so they had to put a new crew on the job. And they're going to tell you all these things which didn't make them happy. And what they're really setting you up to do is take all the things they said about what they last did and not to draw them into the conversation, say simply. And so one of the things, we have a project. The project, the average project, and you give them man hours, the planning hours. When the guy arrives, if the guy's going to be there at 8 o'clock in the morning, he'll call in advance and say it'll be set up to get there between 8 and 10. And he'll get, if he's smart, he gets there closer to 8. But all the things are conditioning the customers to reality.
I love it.
Other questions?
Well, Dave, I got to get going here, but if we want to get a hold of you, and by the way, I want to meet you in person. I'm super impressed. I love this stuff. I'm going to go first. I'm going to do the personality test, and I should have made more time because I could go for hours with you. I love learning from you. www.supersalestraining.com. Get the personality test.
They'll send that to you so you have, I probably don't get, but Brad or one of his assistants will send that to you so that all those things are there and you can do that. And the other thing is when to meet. We still do 7 or 8 major programs a year, and I appear in most of them. I'm going to be appearing in one, when is it, October 28th, 29th, and 30th here in the Washington, D.C. area. But what we're going to do at that meeting is called a Gathering of Eagles. And they'll send you that as well. And you'll get to meet some of these people I talk about. The guy that does $1 billion, the guy with 12 offices that does 700 million. And they all went they all went through these things. And so they'll tell you what that is. Brad handles that. I'd love to meet you. When are you going to get married?
Oh, we're out of ways. We're getting married at the beginning of 2027, and we're excited. We got a lot of stuff in motion, though. We're building a couple houses, and we decided to make sure it's perfect, so we're scheduling everything. We picked the venue, so we're out about a year, but we're going to start pushing for kids right away once that happens.
God bless. I had my last child when I was 51, so you can keep on doing that for a long time.
Well, Dave, it's been an honor, my friend. I will definitely be reaching out to you, and I would love to do another session of this. I learned a lot. I've got a lot of information of things we need to change within my company that I took from this, and it's always educational. So appreciate your time very, very much.
And with that, you can show them a posting that if they went online and simply Googled me, there are maybe 200,000 entries about all different kinds of subject venue. But any of them, and they can go online and get the answers to a lot of the things that we talk about. And we have intensely marketed all our products so that they fit everyone's pocketbook. All right. Listen, I have to tell you, Tommy, it has been my pleasure as well. And I look forward to the next time we meet.
We will. And I want to meet your sons as well, so I'll make sure that happens. So have them reach out.
Write down those dates then. He'll send you news on that, but write down October 28th, 29th, and 30th. Write them down.
I got it.
And it'll be, have you flown into Washington often?
No, I haven't. Never been to D.C.
Okay, well, we're 6 minutes from one of the airports. 6 minutes. Perfect. So it's near the airport, easy to get in and out, and they'll send you information on it. And good luck to you, Tommy. My pleasure.
I promise you, we'll be seeing each other. Keep up the great work, my friend.
Take care.
All right, buddy. See ya.